Yeah. Okay, I came to see about hiring, whoops, Joseph. I don't know how you pronounce his last name, but I want just.
Wehage.
Wehage.
Yeah. Okay.
For pre-approval. I don't think I'm gonna start, I had typed that up. How, Haley, do I want to put that?
You can just say, I mean, he's not done his physical and all that yet.
Yeah, I
but
gotta
she's-
do the drug test. Yeah.
That way she doesn't have to come back next week.
Yeah, so it,
You can
I'll
just
change the date on
approve it
that.
effective,
Yeah.
yeah, with the new start date.
Effective, what was, well, he's gotta do some testing.
yeah, I don't, next week,
Yeah.
well, that's, when is that? Oh, that's sure.
Well, it'd be November.
November 3rd.
Yeah, election day, we're not gonna be up here. We'll probably be
Okay.
downstairs, I think,
Yeah.
possibly, but, because I have the magistrate, but I thought this could be an
Well,
overflow.
he's got some testing to do.
Yeah.
Is it pre-employment testing?
Mhm.
Okay, so once you get the results back from that, then,
You can just put subject to pre-employment
Yeah.
testing.
sure.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
You want this?
Can I get a motion to approve
You
the
need that?
hiring of Joseph Wehage
Thank you.
Okay.
pending
Pre,
pre-employment testing?
Yes.
okay.
So moved. Second.
Okay. Tracy made the motion, Gary seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you. Did everyone have a chance to look over the minutes?
Oh, yes. I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Tracy made that motion, Gary seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I think they were fairly long with the
Well, yeah, I'll
application.
You don't have to put that.
I won't put that in the publication,
Right.
but it has to be in that resolution, so.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah, that would cost a lot.
Yes, it would, wouldn't it?
So I'm
Yeah.
I'm saving by shrinking them.
Take a moment to look over the claims.
Or do you wanna let Julie?
I would love to have Julie
Okay.
speak while they're looking
Does,
that over.
Ben is not here, but he did want to point out that in that, it did mention something about having an electrician on hand at the same time as they're gonna be here.
They wanted to know if it was okay if the county, well, if there needed to be any electrical, that the county would pick that up, but they, was planning on doing the whole rest of the pack, if they needed extra outlets or something.
Oh, okay.
And that's
Not
what-
that they had to be on
No, but
staff.
if they're gonna, because I'm sure they'll probably come out and assess everything before they put everything in there, so this way we can get, electrician if needed. But it's basically a really great courtroom package, because it's gonna have the sound system, it's gonna have cameras for video conferencing if we need it. It's gonna have so they can, put, the exhibits, up on a thing, so this way, people don't have to be touching the exhibits, so they'll have a way to show it up on a big screen instead of handing papers out. So it's a digital print center, and 2 65-inch displays will be mounted in a way that we're doing for the juries and the plaintiff and the defendant. This way also too, if we have any high profile cases, which we hope we don't have anything like that, where the media needs to come in, the media can hook in, and that they don't have to be inside our courtrooms, and all these people don't have to be in our courthouse if not needed. So this way it gives people the opportunity on those type of cases where you don't want to have a whole bunch of people in your courthouse, but you can also view it someplace else. So this way it's a public format. But anyway, the court administration was very sorry. They did have a clue that this was going to happen. These were from the funds for everything, and the CARES Act, and they didn't think they were going to get. They thought, well, let's just try to get the whole district, because they thought they would only maybe got 4, and they would have put 2 in Lynn and 2 in Johnson. But they were approved for the whole district, so all the rural counties out here in our district gets this too, which is great.
Yeah, yeah. It's
So.
a little more elaborate than what we had planned to do.
Right, and it's like, hey, if they're gonna put the money into it and
Yeah.
take care of it, then,
I did email Mike Day with RC Tech
Right.
as soon as Julie told me, because we were supposed to pay that down payment this week.
35%.
So I did not mail that yet. So
Have you heard back from him?
all he said was he did have a few parts on hand, but nothing official, and he appreciated the heads up, but if you wanna call in today after today's meeting, what you guys decide.
Okay, all right.
Because you'll have to sign that agreement today, right?
Right, and I do have that.
I have a print.
Yeah,
so
yeah, perfect.
I think that's wonderful.
I think it's
Yeah.
too. So
I was gonna
that's
say-
why she called me instead of waiting to email me, because she goes, well, I just need you to tell. I'm like, yeah, I was right over in Haley's office as soon as I got off the phone with her, so.
Yeah, okay. I mean, he
Good.
seemed good about it, but I don't know if we should pay it unless they enforce it, probably.
Okay.
I wasn't gonna offer that.
Is the heat on me back on?
No.
Yes.
No, it's not.
It feels warmer here
He
than
said
in my
now we
office.
have something with the gas valve
Meter, the
outside.
meter
Yep,
died.
the meter died
We're
and,
just getting done installing it, and it'll have to lead and everything.
yep. So, cause yesterday it kicked on for a little bit at the end of the day.
That's what the girl said. I was down in Marengo yesterday.
Yeah.
So we'll need approval, and authorization to sign this letter for the systems installation sign off.
How much is the system's gonna cost?
I don't know.
Doesn't cost the
The
county
State's,
anything.
Yeah,
state's
yeah.
paying it.
the state is paying for the thing. Only thing that they would need if they needed extra outlet run here or there.
That would be the county expense.
Right.
Or if we want to cover the cables, if there's any cables on the
Right.
floor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so cost is gonna be minimal.
They're gonna cover
They cover all the equipment
the cables, they're gonna
installation.
cover the cables that are on the floor, according to that sheet.
according to the sheet, you might have misread it, it says, do you understand you can purchase and apply covers to the exposed cabling? So that's us. So
But that's minimal compared to what
Very,
the
very
bid was
minimal.
for the.
we were looking to
sound.
spend
It was
about
like
10
10
grand.
grand,
on
yeah.
it, so, yeah. So I need a motion to approve signing of this.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Motion is by Gary, seconded by Tracy. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Thanks, Julie, for letting me use the magistrate next week.
No problem. I'm just glad we're not having any jury trial.
I am too. This Tuesday, the downstairs will be
The
busy too.
gentleman that came out and spent all the time in trouble,
That's who I contacted him as soon as I found out. He's aware of it. But that's what I don't know if we'll have to pay that retainer fee or not.
I don't have a problem with it. I mean, he had,
Well,
It'd be 35%, wasn't it?
35%, that's about $3,500.
Mhm.
I got a problem with that.
I mean, if the parts that he ordered, I could see if those were specific to our project, and he can't get it refunded, but I think somebody should follow up with him with a phone call. Do you need his contact?
Yes, I will. So, actually, you have another one of these, it wants the title typed after I printed it.
Oh, well, I think you're fine.
I think it's
Just
fine.
typing it, yeah, it's fine. Or
Okay.
printing it is fine, because that's what I got from the Iowa County Supervisors the other day, so.
Doesn't tell you too
And
much
I will
about Justin Gray of America.
Check these.
Yesterday I got him,
Oh, well, that's good.
just to reassure.
I'll make you
Sure.
a copy.
Kaylee
Email
has
it to her.
copies.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you,
Thank you, guys.
appreciate it. Thank
as
you for
soon
the
as
good
this is gonna
news.
be installed.
They're gonna have, they'll order it this year. We won't have it yet this year, but they're planning on installing first part of next year. So hopefully sooner than later, so we can really use it. So
Thank you.
we'll keep you posted though on the progress.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, Sheriff, we slipped over by about 5 minutes.
Fine.
Sorry.
The first thing I had on there was to move Kathy Klaus. She is full-time, part-time. And just move her to a regular, full-time kitchen employee.
I
The
forgot.
wage stays the same.
I forgot to print the resolution, but it's fine. I have the resolution already.
Okay, we'll read by resolution. Okay.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Tracy made a motion, Gary seconded to move Kathy Klaus from part-time to full-time status. All those in favor, please say aye. Oh, this is resolution, you're right, sorry.
Shank aye.
Seaman, aye.
And Primer, aye. She did say she had to print that, didn't she?
Yep, it will be in the minutes.
Second item, sir.
The second item, I believe, was
Foundation 2,
Foundation 2,
point vehicle.
at the rural access point. For our two ladies there, we have found the need for a car they could use to give somebody a ride to housing somewhere. We've probably had 10 to 15 times over the summer, even though we were kind of shut down with things, where we could have utilized a vehicle over there to transport somebody to shelter or housing somewhere. And then they would utilize it for their ongoing casework, keeping up with people. We thought we would start by looking and seeing if there was anything used in the community that would work for that.
Do you have any squad cars you're going to be?
We've got the one that we were gonna sell to Foundation 2.
Okay.
And then our law enforcement liaison, that would become theirs on their insurance and everything. This would be an additional car. I don't have anything right now that we're gonna take out of service.
Yeah.
Did we have to have the region approve that too?
No, because initially, so when I went to the region and had the budget approved, I didn't have to break down
All right.
where the money was going. It was just an amount.
Okay.
And because like they didn't have CIT and all that kind of stuff, that and didn't end up getting spent. So that money is still like sitting
The
there.
fund balance project.
Yes. So you don't have to go in front of them to have that approved because the money's already there.
All right.
Because you guys aren't gonna have CIT done by end of the fiscal, right?
No.
And we have a refund check for that too already.
Yeah. I was gonna say, and it was like
We have them all
over
set up.
$60,000 initially, and even if
Well,
they did
yeah,
virtual,
we got
it's not gonna
the
be that amount.
reimbursement for the training already.
Yeah, we have it all set up to go, and then they cancel everything.
So,
So this funding that has been allocated with the vehicle, would that go towards purchase of the vehicle?
Mhm.
Sweet.
And
Okay,
insurance.
I just want to make
and-
sure that
Yep.
what I was hearing.
Yeah, so because the amount that I went in front of the board with, like, so last year before it started this fiscal year, it was like $300,000. And that was for CIT, that was for, you know, I had it broke down in case they had questions, but they just said, no, 300, go ahead. And so basically it's however that gets spent for the access center, however that breaks out, as long as it doesn't exceed that. And again, even if CIT was virtual, I mean, there's no way it's gonna be 60,000 because there's not travel, there's not. So there's more than enough in there to purchase a vehicle.
So it doesn't have to be a clunker.
No, it does not have to be a home.
So Benton County will be the title holder, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Not the region.
Correct, because it's coming out of, it's kind of like the car that I got, it came out of fund balance,
Okay,
but it,
just so I know how to apply for that.
yes, so even though it's for region business, essentially the same thing, it's still Benton County, it comes back to if, you know.
So with it being titled under Benton County, are they still covering the insurance and the
We will
expenses?
then, too.
We would.
Yeah, that would be ours.
Okay, all right. And the upkeep and et cetera is Benton County?
Yep.
Okay.
And then probably another vehicle, gas card through you maybe, like Mona's doing?
Yeah, that one would be through the sheriff's office.
Okay.
All right.
So it sounds like the only cost that would be covered is the actual, like, cost of the vehicle itself.
Mhm.
Okay. So you need a motion to go ahead and approve the search for a vehicle, or you want to come up with something and then let us know?
We'll bring the vehicles back to you.
Okay,
You gotta have to get bids and all that
That
too.
would make
See what's
sense.
available.
okay.
Are you planning on new or used?
We'll have to see what's out there. I will stay in the county.
But then you probably have to take bids.
From what I understand, the used car market's a little.
The used car market is high right now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's hot.
And then, 10 years ago, you couldn't give them away.
Yeah.
So, or whenever that recycled ejector thing was.
Slightly
Cash or
used.
squawkers or
There you go.
whatever, yeah.
Slightly used is a big market right now.
Okay. All right, well then your last item is sale of rescue equipment to Blairstown Fire Department.
We've talked about possibly doing away with the rescue truck. It is a piece of equipment that is not used, but it has the rescue equipment on it. Blairstown Fire does not have rescue equipment. We would like to sell it to Blairstown Fire. It's the only larger department in the county that currently doesn't have rescue equipment. But it would be an as-is where-is sale. I don't even know if it runs. It's
Sat
that,
that out here a few months ago.
the truck itself, yes.
Okay.
The jaws and
Jaws.
stuff like that in it, have no idea if it works. It has sat for years.
Well, if it was shut down properly, I would think so, but,
I have no idea.
yep, I hear you.
So that brings us to the truck. Scott has, the emergency management has the mass casualty trailers over there, which we could have utilized here recently. But being as it was a trailer, then you gotta find a truck to hook it onto and pull it to a scene. And we thought we would take the rescue part out of the truck and put some mass casualty items in the truck. And if we have a call, they can just jump in it and roll it to a scene.
They meaning,
All we gotta have is a driver at that point.
okay, you've lost me.
Emergency management.
Emergency management.
Okay, but they have the trailers,
Trailers,
and you're wanting to take some of that equipment out and put it into
rescue, into the truck.
this
Rescue
truck
one.
that you're selling?
We're just selling equipment out of that truck.
Just equipment?
We're keeping the
Okay,
truck.
okay,
We're afraid if what we've seen on the internet, because the truck's got like 6,000 miles on
Right.
it. It's worth far more than we're ever gonna get for it.
Mhm.
So we'll just repurpose it.
okay, that makes sense, all right. What year is that?
2004,
When that purchase, when Kenny was
Yep.
sheriff, so I thought.
it's had very little use, still sitting on original tires. Works like a charm. Repurpose it, it can also still be taken to, crime scenes, fire scenes, especially in the winter time. You can get people in it, get people warmed up. It can be utilized for that, and then
Okay.
it's got a lot of uses.
Mhm.
People just have to know it's there, know it's available. It's got onboard generators. You just pull up and put it in park and flip a switch and it generates power.
So if you're moving equipment from the trailers, then you'll dispose of the trailers?
The truck isn't big enough to hold all the
Everything,
equipment.
okay, right. It'd just be a chance to get a little space
Yes, and then
and things, yeah. Space it out a little bit.
The basic equipment, if you needed it for a mass casualty event, like a school bus accident,
Mm-hmm.
You can go direct to a scene with it. Otherwise, with a trailer, by the time you get
Right,
hooked up, because we did pull it down there, but there was no way we were getting to the scene with it, and thank goodness we didn't need it.
sure. Okay, all right. So you need a approval to go ahead and
Approval?
sell the equipment, and equipment does not include the truck.
Correct.
Okay,
So moved. Second.
all right. Gary made that motion, Tracy seconded, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Good,
All done?
thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that the whole vehicle thing,
Yes.
so.
I have Garrison's contract I put on like next week.
Yes, that's good.
Good morning, Melinda. And you are
Baiting 3 parcels of taxes.
I went to Sam's Club to see that. See that?
I don't know if you want to explain like the transfer, but I got the auditor's correction.
Right.
oh, sure. It does.
Haley?
I'm good, thanks.
Thank you.
No.
You're gonna spill your pop.
Yeah, don't get one anyway.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, this is due to error in assessment.
Well, the US government took over 3 basically, I don't know, they bought 3 properties, more like the wetlands down by Belle Plaine, or some of it. And when the US government takes over properties, they're not taxed. Well, so we need to abate their taxes. They don't.
But when, do you remember the date of the sale? That's what we were trying to guesstimate, cause,
No, I don't, I never was told the actual date of the sale.
right, but if Larry agreed that it should be abated, then we went ahead and did it.
He said he agreed because the US government technically, even if they took it over and there were taxes still due for that year that they took it over, the US government does not have to pay the taxes.
Whether somebody paid it or closing them out.
Even though it might have been a private.
Yeah, and they don't have to pay them.
They don't prorate up to time.
Here's
of
that
possession.
code section, so,
Yeah, it's
Wow.
code 445.63.
Amazing.
Yeah.
and they've reached out to us probably at least 3 times, so.
And Tama County went ahead and abated it, so they wanted to know why we were hem-hawing around, because Haley and I were like, well, technically, if you think about it, how the dates were,
They still owe them.
somebody still owed that, but
Mhm.
Tama County came back. And Tama County, I asked them, and she said yes, but I can't remember what she told me they used. They used a different. There's multiple codes out there that they could use to abate the taxes.
All right.
So I have it broken down. But
Yeah, there's 3 parcels here.
Right. Right. Yeah. Any questions, gentlemen? Is there a motion to approve those abatements of those 3 parcels?
What if we don't?
I think federal government knocking on the door.
I mean, technically, it is land that really you're not going to use for much because it's all wet land.
They aren't gonna care regardless.
Yeah. They'll come back with something else for us.
Okay.
These people are foolish, go away.
Tracy made the motion.
Second.
Gary seconded, and this is by resolution.
Your take? Aye.
Him and I.
Yep, Grover, aye.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. We'll get those baited.
I'll give you a copy to sign on if you want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got caught up.
Yeah, take very much.
I'm not gonna stand alone. 9, 12, 15 or something.
It goes into Tama somewhere.
Over by Belle Plaine kind of too, and then it goes, it's in, 2 are in the in X Corp, and then the other one's in the township.
I think I know about where it's at.
Yeah.
Where do you think it is?
Well, is you going down Highway 30 past the 21 corner where it's all that, where it flies in there? I'm thinking right in there. But I could be wrong. I don't know parcels very
south.
well.
I think it's south.
Here, Melinda, you
Is
can
it
take
south?
this if you want now, and then you can do this.
It's west,
There's a whole bunch, they got a lot of area back there that.
it's west of Belle Plaine.
Okay. Okay, so then it's the other way.
Yeah.
I know 2 areas it could be. If I go look at the map, but I just.
Is that on Highway 30, we just did?
We did something with the city of Benton bought that farm ground where the wells is a
Yeah.
year ago.
So,
Morning.
Alright, bye.
Thank you,
you.
Linda.
Morning.
You guys look like it might be full.
It's a little chilly out there.
chilly in here too.
Do we need to order these in here?
Keep spaced out, comfortable out there.
Not like they rode in the same pickup or.
Yeah.
Side note, we did not get that screening in time because they were gonna charge, I don't know, $10.
Thank
We
you,
could go
Sheriff.
over to, like,
Thank
the
you.
Raiders for free.
Oh,
If we
okay.
got, so if guys ask.
I'll say something to him
Our
about it
guy
then.
had a flu shot yesterday and we were like, hey, you don't have to
Yeah.
all the cases were up.
Maybe I'll put something up like where the timesheets are at or something
Yeah,
if
I
they're
think they should
interested.
just walk in over here and
Okay.
up there, but like for our insurance, I think it just covers.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's good then.
Gentlemen, did you have a chance to look over the claims?
Yeah, I'll okay him, but I got one question. So we'll okay him for that, make a motion for the claims.
And I've got a couple questions, okay? And I'll ask my questions. Already found out one from the sheriff. First page, under Sterling Solutions, VA maintenance contract for 500. What contract would they have?
She's got different things with, like a software thing, I believe, for Tony. I mean, I don't look through her contract,
So you
because they
think
have
it's
her, her VA
software?
board commission approves it first, so.
Okay, all right. And then on page 3, just towards, it's the third one from the top. During the ratio that we had, their air conditioning units on top of the service center had moved. And so we talked about sending somebody up there to look them over, make sure nothing was torn, but he found some seams that were coming loose. So we went ahead and repaired those. And so that is the cost for that.
Okay, that's the only question I have.
So, and also, he doesn't usually do that.
2 with 1.
Underline right there.
He's been reviewing doesn't he go up there a couple times a year anyway?
Usually goes up, in the spring and in the fall and checks things over, make sure it's,
And I have that invoice flagged too for my FEMA, anything, even if I get 80%.
why not?
I'm trying, there's just so much right now with the
Yeah.
FEMAs.
Well, Tracy made the motion to approve the claims and Gary seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Well, we have 3 minutes left before Ben is up here. Any quick committee reports? I had passed around.
Yeah, I just started looking at that.
Okay.
At a WMA meeting, virtual, Thursday, I suggested, and a lot of the other supervisors said the same thing, I'm gonna pass it around. They wanna have supporting staff with the WMA, and they come up with a figure on how much each county and city in the floodplain and all that will have to kick in to help pay for the supporting staff
Supporting staff.
in the WMA.
Okay. This
Okay,
is
this is Adam Rodenberg's,
position?
well, I think somebody else that they're gonna add into it.
Okay, to help Adam.
Yes, yes. So anyway, I suggested they need to send somebody from the group around and present their case.
Mhm.
Cause it's quite a chunk of change, cause Benton County, they want us to kick in $21,511 a year, and they want a 5-year commitment.
Adam was only his funding was only supposed to last for 5 years.
Correct.
And we are on the downhill side of that.
Correct.
So raises the question, if Adam's not there, what are we supporting?
Correct. So that's why I said they need to come
Yeah.
and support. There's the figures of the different counties. Like I said, I wrote them down.
It's the same ones that are in the watershed now, the counties.
Yes,
But there are some cities here too.
yes.
So, let's say Adam retires or, have him in our budget anymore, how are we gonna fund this?
Well, the question would be, why would we fund this? If Adam's not there, if that program's not going forth, why are we funding it? And my question is gonna be things such as, you got Blackhawk County here, for example. I don't see Lynn County, but I do see Cedar Rapids. I don't see Waterloo. Are we just cherry picking kind of the thing here, you know.
See, I know some of the
That's why
cities,
it'd be
some
good
of,
if they were around.
some of the mayors, I know they were kicking at the meeting the other day that the smaller communities, they were saying right away that we ain't got the money in our budget, you know,
Sure,
and then a 5-year commitment too yet.
right.
How come LaPorte City's on here?
It's in Blackhawk County.
But it's a city.
Well, he indicated counties and cities.
Yes, it's for the flood mitigation.
But from what I can see, not all counties are on there.
See, like
Such as-
Benton's in there too.
Right. And not all cities are in there.
My question was, what happens if only half of them participate?
Right.
Does your price go up?
Yeah.
You know, and they said, no, it won't go up, so. I said, well, you need to come
Yeah.
in front of us.
So where would he get the funding
Yes,
to
so
pick up that deficit?
I believe it'll be sometime in December,
Okay.
Mary Beth and Adam will come.
Pretty good.
Well, what I don't understand is, let's say, some of those entities, let's say a majority of them don't fund it. And then the funding, we're not gonna have to kick in, how you gonna support the staff?
See, that's like, to me,
That's why
that
they
was,
gotta come forth.
that's right, that's why it's a gray area, because I know they kept on saying it's a 28E agreement that we all have. You know, and then supposedly in the fine print says that we will not make you participate, and we will not make you pay into this either. But,
Right.
so I don't know. I said, you need to come and present it, and then everybody agreed that they need to go to all the cities and all the other counties to the supervisors and present their case.
Okay. All right.
So,
Well-
that's just all it was, is a heads up that
And
It
we
will
will
be
come
coming.
back to reports here in a moment.
Yep.
We need to move over to Ben Bonner.
Just had the 2020 Weed Commissioners Annual Report for you guys today. The state sends this out every year, and then I fill it out and have to send in a signed copy just with which weeds were problematic, how much money we spent on spray and that type of stuff. It's required through Iowa law, so. I guess I'll just kind of give you a brief run through here, and if you have any questions, just let me know. For the most part, the report stayed more or less the same from the last few years. Our weed problem, I would say, is continuing to improve, but we are dealing with the same weeds every year that are our biggest, or the same weeds are problematic every single year. You know, Canada thistle continues to be our biggest complained about weed out of all of them. We do get a few complaints about cocklebur and musk thistle and stuff like that, but it's pretty much overwhelmingly Canada thistle. There hasn't really been anything new that's came in. I know a couple of years ago we talked about Palmer amaranth. I still haven't seen any of it in the roadsides, but I know we do have it in the county. So that stuff, like I said, is more or less stayed the same. This year we spent $55,655 on herbicide. We do have a fair amount of carryover that we can use to kind of offset some of the cost for next year. I believe we got maybe 200 some gallons of 2,4-D and another 100 some gallons of Vaseline that we use to spray brush with, so that'll be kind of nice. We can offset.
So how many gallons of 2,4-D, for example, do you normally go through?
This year we went through, that's on the back page.
Just keep going through.
Just so I don't give you, just so I don't give you the wrong answer here. So we used
Oh, yeah.
360 gallons of the 2,4-D ester, and then I used 102 gallons of the Freelix, which is like a less, it's kind of a halfway in between an amine 2,4-D and an ester 2,4-D. So one's water-based and one's oil-based.
Mhm.
The oil-based can volatilize and move at high temperatures, but it's more, it hits the plants much quicker. So we do use that because normally we're not spraying under or above 90 degrees anyway, which is kind of where it starts to volatilize. The amine is safer and will not volatilize, but it takes longer to react on the plants. So this Freelex is kind of an in-between that they've come up with. So it's more reactive like an ester, but it will not volatilize. So we've been experimenting with that the last few years. Let's see here. So yeah, the overall chemical purchase this year, I would say, is a little bit higher than what we've spent in the last few years, but we do have carryover, so next year we should spend probably a little bit less anyway, so. This year we submitted 42 weed complaints, and that was kind of the project that I gave to Wes this summer. He really helped me out with that. In the past, I checked last year, I think we submitted 23 weed complaints, so this has been a significant amount more. And the primary reason for that is that I had Wes go around and follow up on all the weed complaints that we sent out last year just to make sure that those were getting taken care of. And then I also sent him out to check basically the entire county for thistles and whatnot. And I think it was pretty effective on the whole. Normally we get about 10 to 15 people calling in complaining about weeds on private property, and this year we only got one called in complaint. So I thought that was, showing that at least sending the letters out, we're not getting the amount of complaints then, which I think was really effective.
Proactive rather than reactive.
Yeah, exactly. So that was, I thought, really successful this year. So basically the way we've operated it is Wes would go out and look and find, whatever patches of thistles and whatnot and submit them. And then while we were out spraying too, we would document ones we'd see and then call them into him and have him write up the letter and send it out. I think I showed you guys that letter maybe middle of the summer,
right.
So I didn't bring that in today, but overall it's been pretty effective. The nice part about having the spray truck driver that I do as well is that he knows a lot of people in the area too. So if we go past somebody he knows and they have thistles, we've called in just to them, the landowner, and told them, hey, you need to get it taken care of. And normally they do. So we did have 7 of those conversations as well. So approaching probably 50 total conversations that we had with people about weeds this year.
So with your letters and your personal contacts, I presume then you follow up a few weeks later?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's how we handled it. So Wes he'd go out, check the spots, make sure the weeds were there, send the certified letters out, and then he would do, I believe you did most of the follow-ups even on checking and making sure the weeds were taken care of.
Yeah, so after about a week or 10 days, I would go out again, check the same areas, make sure that they took care of their weeds. And then while I was down the area, I would also look and see if there were any other people who had Canada thistle or any other noxious weeds throughout the county as well.
Good.
And then we at the bottom of the letter, usually we've got a spot where it has like my contact information, so then they can call back in and let us know that they have the weeds taken care of. So then I'd follow up with them and either answer questions about, how they get rid of them or, figure out what the situation is and when they're going to get taken care of. And I thought, like I said, on the whole, this is probably the most effective year that we've had, so.
Good.
Let's see here. I think most of the other information is the same. You got the chemical usage form on the back if you want to look through any of that. Like I said, it's pretty similar year to year. We've kind of got it down to a science now, and that really doesn't vary all that much. I do think for next year, this has been a little more eye-opening to me. Each intern I have kind of focuses on something different every year, and having Wes specifically focus on this kind of really helped us stay in the truck and keep spraying and getting that done efficiently, and then also getting the weed stuff taken care of at the same time. So hopefully next year I'd like to kind of operate it the same way anyway.
Good. So the internship was a success in your opinion?
Yeah, I think I've been very happy with all the stuff that he's got done, and I couldn't have been that successful without him, I can guarantee you that, so. The other thing that we came up with, because we submitted so many weed complaints on CRP ground this year, NRCS got in touch with me and said, hey, what's going on? Because we've had all these landowners calling in, saying, why are we, what's causing this big upwelling in CRP weed complaints? So I met with them a couple months ago, and one of the ladies in there asked that I draft something up just so landowners know. Oh, did I not give you one?
That's okay.
Oh,
I
sorry,
just keep
I
it
printed
under-
plenty
Yeah.
of them, so I must have had a brain fart, but.
Yeah, you'll have to sign that.
So there's an actual process they have to go through with NRCS to get those weeds taken care of. Basically, when I send them the letter, they have to get in touch with NRCS and submit a letter to, I guess there's a county committee that determines if they can go in and mow the weeds, which I wasn't aware of. So there was some confusion on that. So I spoke with the lady at NRCS and drafted this up. So we'll send this with every letter we send out that we suspect that the property's in CRP, just so then they know how to handle it and can get it done more efficiently anyway, so.
Makes sense.
I think on the whole, that was pretty much it. I don't know if you guys had any other questions or.
Interesting whenever you start talking to government entities about some weeds.
Yeah.
How much has to be gone through to get them taken care of?
Yeah.
Well, then we're gonna need a motion and a second to approve and accept his weed commission report, because this needs to be sent on to the Iowa Department of Agriculture and Land Stewardship.
So moved. Second.
Or take your pick.
Third, fourth.
And then, yeah, I think I forget.
You got that down? Okay.
Chair, but one of you, whoever the chair is, will have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I'll sign it here.
Just have to sign it and then I'll get her sent in, so.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
One thing I got to say, Ben,
Okay.
you sent a letter out to somebody in Blairstown. I'm not
Okay.
gonna say their names. We discussed this before,
Mhm.
and I kinda agree with them. Coming up 218 around my area, the state had the nice, pretty blue flowers.
Yeah,
And then 2 weeks later, it was snowing along 218. So, as for them getting a letter about having them in their pasture, which they did spray them, which you did not know it at the time you sent the letter.
yeah.
I, understood that.
Mhm.
But as for the state dropping the ball then, to me, that kind of gives you a black eye, which you have no control over.
Yeah. Yeah, and they've kind of been a continuous problem, and the management of that area has switched back and forth between maintenance sheds the last while, and that's one we didn't get followed up on this year, and I know I need to because I get complaints about it all the time from people, and it's not, the bad part is it's not fair that they're not having theirs taken care of and then we're
Correct.
enforcing it elsewhere. So I'm gonna work on that this year and figure out. They've had a private operation going through and spraying the weeds, and I have, 2 years ago, they missed a bunch of them, and I called the state and they sent the guy back out to do it, but unfortunately that was like after they'd gone to seed and, and a lot of times I know they've got like, I don't remember if it's like the nesting bird law or whatever it is, but they wait. It conflicts with thistle control because the thistles bloom and set seed right during the period where they're not supposed to mow. And then the minute that date passes, they're out there mowing the medians and everything. So I don't know. I'll have to speak with them again about it and get that taken
To
care
give
of.
you
So.
an idea, my dad bought a farm in 1963. they're still Canadian businesses.
Yeah, yeah, they're, well, and that's even us with as much trying as we do. I've hit spots several times a year and they come back, you know, and we're basically in maintenance mode now, trying to keep them at least as under control as we can get them. And there's spots I miss, you know, we do the best we can, but with the amount of acreage we've got, it's just hard to, you know, when I get a once over on it or twice maybe if I'm lucky.
You've got the same type of scenario in city limits.
Yeah.
One neighbor will do dandelion control and it's nice and green and not yellow, and the next neighbor, it's a yellow field.
Yeah.
And so you've got that with the state, the county, yeah, I get it.
Well, I think that stretches back under Urbana's control, so I'll have to, like I said, I'll have to talk with that guy again and just make sure. I know last year I talked to him about a stretch on 152, and they were really good about that. They went right out. It was just north of Urbana, and they went out and got that taken care of right away. I think that was the actual like state guy doing that, but
Well, they're close to the shed there.
yeah, it's not too far, and so.
See, this morning they're mowing the sides of the 218 right now as we speak.
Oh, are they?
Yeah. And like I said, that's gotta be from the Urbana shop,
Mm-hmm.
because it started from Benton, and he comes south, and he got to the
That must be.
Van Horn corner this morning.
Yeah, because they flip-flopped it at a couple times, because when I started here, it was Urbana. Then it got moved to Cedar Rapids.
Mhm.
Then it got moved back to Urbana, and I don't remember if it stayed there then, or, you know,
Yeah, I think it's Urbana now.
yeah,
218, my west corner is Urbana.
is
So
a,
yet 30 itself comes out of the college yet.
yeah, yeah.
Very smart.
Yeah, and I think that's supervised by that guy in Cedar Rapids, if I remember correctly, though.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll have to make that a priority next year and make sure that gets taken care of, because, yeah, and it's, that's my fault too, just because, you know, my spray territory's on the north end, and I kind of just, with everything going on this year, didn't get down and look at it as much as I should have, so.
Well, and you started back as commissioner a
Late.
little late.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's
And like I said,
understandable.
I'll make it a priority next year, and I'll make sure that they get in there and do it right away. And it shouldn't be a big deal, because like I said, most of it's gone to contract spraying. I don't even know if they have a certified applicator in the Urbana shed anymore. I think the guy retired that used to do it, so. But,
This one I signed.
okay, awesome. I'll get that sent off then, and.
Well, thank you, Ben.
Yeah, if you have any other questions, just let me know, and otherwise I'll be back in and get it started all over again, so.
Budget still, fun stuff. I did talk to Marlon a little bit more too.
Oh, did you? Okay,
He
yeah.
said too, we'll just have to sit down, because he's gotta think about that.
Yeah, yep, no, that'll be good. I figured I'd give you a
Yeah,
till once
no,
all your
I didn't
craziness
forget that.
stops down.
I did
so-
coordinate with him last week, so.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, just let me know and we can figure out a time here. At least things are kind of
Yeah,
wrapping up,
get me
so.
through the next 8 days.
Yeah, I'll give you, I'll give you the time for that.
Thank
I
you.
don't envy you there. All
Thank
right,
you.
have a good one, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other reports?
Nope, that was it.
Okay.
From me last week.
Right. I gave them the Heartland Insurance Risk Pool to look at as far as,
The audit's done.
well, there's a copy of the audit there, and then also the valuations, where we changed some valuations of the county
Oh,
property.
yep.
So,
The limitations on the buildings and stuff, yeah.
correct. It'll
I
show
don't
contents.
know, after last week when we heard about the cupola up there, if I should have that adjuster come back and look. I don't know what that's gonna cost. And right now with the weather, it's gonna be hard to get somebody to come bid on it.
Well, it wouldn't be, there'd be nothing wrong with having them come back and look at it.
Because at the time when he was around, we didn't know that happened.
Right.
But I did talk to Justin a little bit, because getting bids for something like that right now, people are not thinking of doing that kind of work.
Right.
So I don't know as far as the guidelines with FEMA, because I have a meeting with them Thursday again on the derecho. I'll ask them, because I don't know, you know, like how soon I'd have to turn in, even if it was a rough estimate.
Mhm.
But,
Okay. Well, I don't think it'd hurt to have them come back.
no.
Gary indicated that they're starting on the interior walls out there at the transportation
They
building.
were just starting this morning.
Good.
You never did not do another breakdown, did they? Okay,
Oh, yeah.
because I'm gonna submit another reimbursement.
Okay.
But at this time, they're only reimbursing us 80% at a time, so.
We got reimbursed for one of the payments, not the second one.
Right.
So if I have him do the last payment with the, you know, combine the two, maybe that's why I'll do that.
Okay, because
I mean, he knows about it, but
Right.
he's swamped.
I know. And Brock knows about the amounts too, so. And it could be one of the, at the end that we have to eat anyway. You know, we still have to eat some, the difference. So,
Guy out there this morning was not real happy.
Why? Oh, 'cause he's there?
who was the drywaller?
He was spread thin, I could tell.
Well, I think a lot of them are right now. So are the people coming in and out sometimes,
You know, though, to be honest about it,
just saying.
he contracted this job before
Right.
this happened, so he's gotta get, this has gotta take priority. It's just what it is.
By the way, Haley, thank you for the get out and vote badge here.
Yep, I'm feeding my election workers this week downstairs where I'm
Well,
training. twice a
same
week,
token,
so
you know how much
I give them
money
water.
we have saved that we started this project before this stuff hit? You know, I priced the building out over the weekend and I did fall out of the chair. I was shocked.
Material prices have gone through the roof.
2x6, 12 foot is $16.
For one,
One.
because they know they can get it right now. So what about
For
drywall?
one.
Well, it's
I
not
didn't
just
even
the,
ask.
it's just
I had
not
that
a
delivered.
ratio. It's got to do
Right.
with the hurricanes as well.
Um,
The fires
It's not
have
just
been going
one
on.
hurricane.
I said the hurricanes.
Yeah,
And,
the Zeta's gonna hit.
yeah, we're getting towards the end of the alphabet again.
And to be
Where's that one
honest
going?
about it, the, people down in, whatever it is, Alabama or Mississippi that are cutting this lumber, they're not, they're not cutting it.
And you get all the fires out west.
You know, that, I was thinking about that, those fires. Let's say, I don't think you can do it legally. Let's say you can see the fire, it's coming, you know it's coming. And it's huge, it's gonna take your house, your everything. Why can't you just start a fire, keep it small?
Mean backburn.
Yeah.
I think they do some of that. But I don't.
I don't know how you can backburn in 100-mile-an-hour wind.
Yeah. Well, I've heard a lot of the comments that, you know, maybe we should be opening it up for some private, you know, harvesting of the trees to thin them out a little bit on the government land.
They won't let them people out there.
Perhaps go through and put in fire breaks.
They're not cleaning anything up. So they got all this undergrowth that's dead and it's laying there. It's a mess.
Sometimes it makes you wonder, worry about other pollutants and leave that kind of stuff go, and then suddenly you get a out of control fire and look at that pollution.
Yeah. It's a mess. But I don't live out there.
Glad I don't have it to deal with. Not on my plate.
Do you guys notice that bill too for the Pioneer Cemetery surveys?
supposed to come in, I think.
Yeah, they're coming in today, but I did pay that other one already.
Yeah, it's, what was it, $2,500?
Right.
Yeah, so I have that flag. They might have to amend in that area too.
Think it's coming in a little higher.
No, I
They
just,
got
because
that.
normally I don't plan for surveys and stuff in the budget
Right.
for them.
Okay.
So I just gotta keep an eye on that.
You know, that cemetery down there, that might be a problem.
Yeah, I don't know what, I didn't talk to him for this one, so.
Yeah, I've heard of it. The issues.
Hopefully it's not.
Come on in, Wayne.
Right.
How are you today?
Doing pretty good. I swing by your house once in a while, trying to catch you outside, and you seem to be inside more often now. It's chilly.
Usually I'm not home much.
Oh, okay.
Call me.
Well, I can do that.
I always have my phone on my side.
Do I have your phone number?
No, there you go. Want it?
Yeah, that wouldn't hurt. I got some non-official business to ask you about too sometimes, so.
Okay, ready?
Yep.
Naturally got the 319, then it's 360-0055. I don't care, it's all on the website.
Probably me, I suppose.
Yeah, it's not what's called private anymore.
Are we on yet?
Oh, I think so, yeah.
Well, he's on at 10:15,
No,
right?
no. Camera on?
Yeah.
What is?
It's been on.
Okay.
I was just telling them I paid that survey bill this week too.
Oh, great, great, yeah. And we're gonna try to get 2 or 3 bids to get the price down a little bit. We thought that was kinda high ourselves.
Depends on if they've done anything in the area. Sometimes they have to mark all those corners that cost more.
Well, I suppose, yeah.
But we're just waiting for the clock to tick for the 10 o'clock magic
They're all
hour.
probably outside still. Are they all out there or what?
There's a bunch of people out there, yeah.
It's probably court day too, isn't
Yeah, I don't know if there is though.
Can I discuss non-essential business?
it? Pardon me?
Can I discuss non-essential business real quick or not?
Oh, let's hold off.
Okay. I can do that afterwards too.
Sure. Good morning.
Hi, how are you guys? Morning.
We're on the right side of the dirt.
That's good, right? I know, aren't you lucky? How are you? I'm supposed to be like every other. Good morning, Tracy.
Good morning.
Does it look like these are sets?
Well, I know.
Keep your mouth.
Good morning.
Good morning. So Wayne, why don't you go ahead, 10 o'clock.
No, he's on.
I'm 10:15.
You're on 10:15? I'm sorry, I got it
It's us,
all
Rick.
messed up.
It was us.
You're on, Kate.
We are. So we're here today with the board members, Janelle Jack, Dave Fish, Marlon Jorgensen, Greg Walston, and Tim Meyer. They're some of our exec and county appointed board members. We had intentions of bringing the survey results to you much sooner than right now, but with the circumstances this year, it's been kind of crazy. So basically, we wanted to come and present to you some of the findings that we found. And again, I just wanted to reiterate that this wasn't to create controversy or anything like that. We're basically trying to gauge the opinion of people that, you know, have potential land that would like to be developed. So a couple key points that we found. What's that? Yeah, I hear them too. Yep. A couple key things. We had a pretty good response rate. 51.6% of the landowners did respond, which on a mail-out survey is pretty remarkable. So, yeah, there's
I submitted in here the letter, we sent out an initial letter just kind of to talk about some of the things that we were kind of concerned about with the land use, and then we sent out the follow-up letter with the survey. So I know it kind of created a little bit of controversy, but we just wanted to kind of gauge where we were at with things. Did you want to say that? I'm sorry. 42% of the landowners said they'd be interested in selling their land for something other than ag, which we thought was pretty interesting. And the other interesting fact I thought was a lot of people weren't necessarily aware of the policy in its entirety. So yeah, these were just some things we put together. Kind of wanted to present them to you and let you know. You guys want to add anything?
Nothing specific, but we did want to make sure the board of supervisors saw the results of the survey.
Mm-hmm.
It'll take us a few minutes to
Yeah.
digest this,
Yeah.
obviously.
Take a peek.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I think is that if you look at page 8, the little graph down there in the bottom, you see that a large number of people didn't think that the county should keep landowners from using their land. And if you add that with the think the policy should be made more developmental friendly, that's a big percentage of the people that did the survey. Now, I understand that this is people along Highway 30, so they're more aware of this stuff than maybe the general population. But I think it does speak to what people are thinking in terms of trying to find some way to lower the tax burden by bringing more industry and more development into the county. Some of the property along Highway 30 is available for development right now, correct? You mean what's under
No,
the...
no.
I don't
No.
think so.
Yeah, Atkins and Newhall,
We're not on Highway 30.
but there's 2-mile limit.
They have,
The community would have to annex that 2-mile radius in, which is a large cost to the community. So as of right now, no, there isn't anything that's available for development along Highway 30. Because neither one of those communities have annexed out that far. And currently the land use, or the CSR is quite high in those areas, so.
I think what he's getting confused with, the city has
Ordinance.
an ordinance, or they can have input for what goes on within 2 miles of their communities.
I know they can.
They don't have control. What's that?
They can limit livestock production.
That I don't know. I have no clue. Marlon, would you have an idea?
I'm not, well, you're right, they have some control about what happens in those 2 miles, but agriculture has an exemption, but I don't know if it applies to those 2 miles or not. And agriculture may even apply to their, I saw there was a big article on something the other day about a community that was trying to limit a hog confinement unit coming in, and that was within the 2 mile. And I guess technically they could put it there, but there's, they were trying to have get some common understanding if they could find some land further out. So, yeah, I guess the cities have some control on what happens within that 2 mile, but they can't develop it themselves unless they annex it.
Unless they annex it.
Mhm.
Correct. Yep. Because that happened out there towards Stony Arch,
Right.
if you will. the city had to annex that in for development to go through.
So we still, Benton Development exists to create opportunity for Benton County and growth, and we just really believe that this is an opportunity to see growth in our county. I mean, we aren't saying let's plaster that Highway 30 corridor with business after business, but we would like to have the ability to have some opportunity, if a gas station and or, something else would like to locate themselves there. I mean, it would bring great, property tax into the county. It would bring, commercial sales tax, all those things. So, yeah, so it's an opportunity for us to have growth with the expansion of the 4-lane. And so it's same conversation that we've had a bunch of times, but we would just really like to see some progress towards coming to an agreement, so.
I find this chart on page 8 that Ron pointed out kind of interesting because the two green ones, the dark green says, I think the policy is fine the way it is, which is basically the same as the other lighter green. I don't think the county should keep landowners from using their land for whatever purpose they want. So it's kind of a divided situation through your survey. You're gonna have people on both sides of the fence.
Absolutely, but if you have property owners that have and want to sell a piece of their land for something, I mean, we should allow that opportunity if it's going to better our county and grow our
Well,
county.
and if Greg wanted to buy 5 acres and set up a convenience store, and he approached someone along Highway 30 in this case, they can tell him to hit the bricks, or they can sit down and have a negotiation. I mean, that's up to that property owner then. That's all that you're asking for, is to give people the right to choose.
Exactly. And if you look at that first number, 70% of the unincorporated land in Benton County under the current policy is not eligible for development. And that's a lot. I mean, that's over half our county. And
that's a big issue when somebody approaches Kate and asks if there's something available. And they might want something along 30, and right now she'd have to say, well, it's not available.
yeah, there's definitely land for sale with commercial realtors currently right now, that people have, they're having discussions, but obviously once they call me, they realize that those discussions are kind of at a halt at this moment because they can't do anything about it. It was last year, pre-COVID, pre-2020, that we received multiple phone calls for different things along Highway 30. That's where a lot of people would like to locate themselves. And I think it gives a very interesting impression when there are a handful of businesses along Highway 30 that have been allowed, but then we're not gonna allow, other businesses to,
Well, it
erect.
stands to reason that if you're gonna set up a business, you wanna have it where the people are, where the traffic is. That makes sense. It's common sense. I get that. So what you're basically asking or presenting is the information. Are you asking that we review this? What's up?
Yeah, I think we'd like you guys to review this, digest it a little bit, but we'd like to bring it back to those discussions that we had, it's been quite a while now. But let's maybe take a look at revising this or, having a resolution of some sort, maybe brought in so that we can start to push for some growth along maybe just the corridor or,
Well, it's a known fact that 22, 23 our property tax values are gonna plummet due to the derecho that came through. So, Dave, as mayor of Belle Plaine, how likely are you to annex out 3 miles?
I think we're limited, that we can only annex 2 miles.
At
And it's not as easy as just taking a map and putting, I mean, I'm in the process right now of trying to annex 57 acres to the north and then trying to annex the land our sewer plant sits on in the south, and it's a slow process now. The coronavirus and this windstorm have slowed down a whole lot of things that we wanted to do, just got put on the back burner.
But in theory, if you could annex 2 miles to the north towards Highway 30, after you've annexed that in, you still have another 2 miles that you could go, but how long is that gonna take, and what's the feasibility of that actually happening?
I don't see that happening until after I'm in the nursing home.
And the cost, I mean, there's a cost associated with that, you know, and our small communities, you know, they're already tight as can be, you know, so. I think allowing some growth, I mean, if you think about just, say hypothetically, a gas station parked themselves along Highway 30, I mean, we're driving in 2, 3, 4 miles off of 30 to go to a gas station if need be. There's, I think, 56, 57 miles between a gas station right off of 30
Right on 30.
to the next gas station, so Tama County to Lynn County. And so, you know, we're losing out on those people. You know, yes, I know at one point we wanted to drive them to our communities, but people don't have time to drive 4 miles in or 2 miles in or 3 miles in. I think that it would bring some value to our smaller communities and also bring in that revenue and that money that we're looking for. You know, on an approximate, hypothetically, a $2 million building erected on Highway 30 is about $40,000 to $50,000 in just commercial property tax alone right into the county. Not to mention, you know, if that 1% that you could be getting on the sales tax, and a school district could be reaping the benefits from that as well. So I think we're missing an opportunity from my perspective right
We're on the
now.
line of Benton and Tama County, so it might just come down to the fact that if we don't do something, Tama County's gonna do it right on the other side of the line. And we miss out on an opportunity too,
Mhm.
you know.
Well, we're fortunate that, you know, the one that has approached us would like to stay in Benton County rather than go on to the Tama County side. And so that's very fortunate. And, you know, one side or the other of Highway 21 is not gonna matter much with a service station, obviously. So, but what matters is where the revenue
Where the
goes,
dollars are
what
going.
county coffers, so.
Because most people
Yeah.
aren't gonna be like, oh, I wanna make sure I'm in Benton County getting my gas today. That doesn't matter, so.
And I do know that, you know, in the transportation building, or excuse me, transportation business, along Interstate 80, we have a spot just 4 miles off of Interstate 80 where we can buy fuel, this is in Illinois, much less than what we can buy it right along the interstate. And do you think I can get those drivers to go 4 miles?
No,
No,
yeah.
no.
Well, and if you look at the projected traffic counts too for Highway 30 going east and west, you know, with the 4-lane, it's an incredible amount of traffic.
Just drive.
Yeah, just driving it exactly,
Between
and
about
that's
6
today,
and 8
but.
in the morning, yeah.
Yeah, and that's just today, it's a lot of traffic, but going forward with the 4-lane, you know, so I just think as a county, we should be prepared, especially with the rest of the 4-lane, you know, starting to happen. I think that it's a good opportunity to, you know, make sure that we're prepared, and if there is an opportunity for us to have some type of development, you know, that kind of all needs to go hand in hand while the DOT's putting their roads in for right-of-ways and things like that as well. So I just
And
think it would
makes
be
sense.
unfortunate to have a missed opportunity.
That makes sense. All right. Appreciate you coming forth with this. This is very informative, you know. And the whole point is, you know, again, if Gary owned land on Highway 30 and he doesn't want to sell it, he doesn't have to sell it.
Right.
Plain and simple.
That's, and how we feel as well. You know, it should just be
Right.
an opportunity if
It's
somebody's
nothing getting
interested.
shoved down somebody's
Right,
throat.
exactly.
Well, I think per the results here, I don't think you're looking at everybody. So you change the land use agreement, I don't think you're looking at people to rush to all of a sudden sell their land. I think you're still looking at a really slow, minimal,
It looks like 50/50
Yeah.
according to this chart.
so.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you should expect. I think you said that there are a lot of people that don't want to maintain all that land. And you know, we didn't go into this with any idea that there would be a big amount of land come available, which further exasperates our position is that even those that want to sell cannot necessarily sell. So our window is closed. You see, we don't have access to all the land, because half of them don't want to sell. So now we're making it more difficult even, and, you know, BDG was created to facilitate and help people who want to come into our county. And the current situation is making it more difficult for us to do our job. Not that we aren't doing the job, Kate's working all the time, but this particular situation along Highway 30 makes it a little more difficult.
And, you know, it's not that you're asking, from what I can gather, that you're gonna go down from Lynn County to Tama County and
No.
make that whole section a
Not at all.
commercial zone. You're just asking that it be, the ordinance be loosened up. So I get it.
Or that would have the ability to entertain something, you know, something comes up like a gas station. Are we gonna just shoot that down immediately, or are we going to entertain that?
Well, then
You know,
I'm
so.
sure you'd have a list of people that would be interested in, you know, selling and not selling, you know, so,
We do.
yeah.
You know, but even if we go to something that person comes to it and it's a person that wants to sell, we still have this hurdle we have
Yeah.
to go through. So.
Good. Questions, gentlemen?
There's not that many businesses along 30 right now. I just went through off my top of my head. I mean, this is, to me, the only two, what I would classify them as public businesses is Hope's, Bridal Boutique, and Van Horn. Morton is pulling stakes. They're going to Tipton. That building will be for sale here right shortly. As for the Atkins Storage Center there, where they had the cement plant set up for where the storage is right now, you know, that ground was ruined when they made Highway 30 the 4-lane where the cement plant was there. That's why them storage units are there. That does not bring any money or businesses or anything into the county, the storage units.
Oh, yes, it does.
The storage units do?
You bet they do. Trust me, I pay a lot of money.
Really?
Oh, you betcha. Local option sales tax, 1%.
Okay. And then, let's see, I got one more, Schrader. Schrader's business there.
Doesn't he pay sales tax?
That I don't know.
Well, if he
If he's
does
working
work
for
for
the-
someone, if he goes out to a farm and does tiling, doesn't he have to charge sales tax?
I guess I was just looking at places that people would actually come and visit.
Well, I get it.
That's what I'm
Open
looking
to, open to John Q. Public.
Yeah,
Okay, and,
Well, the property tax alone is going somewhere.
the property tax as well as the local option sales tax. I mean, we give a lot of local option sales tax to our fire departments, ambulance departments. You know, that's how we function with secondary roads. There's a huge amount that goes to that, which is a direct benefit for all the gravel roads and maintenance of our county, you know, road system. So, yeah, I mean, it's revenue we need.
Yeah.
And to turn a blind eye to it is ridiculous. We need that revenue. So we can't hire people, competent people, and pay them a good wage if we don't have money in the bank to do it. How do you get money in the bank? Property tax, local option sales tax. Am I missing anything?
No.
Okay.
Pancake breakfast foods and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure we have big enough pancake breakfast. But, you know, so, yeah, I mean, it's just an attitude that Benton County has had that we are closed for business. We need to change the attitude. I have said that going on 5 years now. And longer than that, I did it 4 years prior to being in this office. Didn't make it, but you know. So, yeah, it's an attitude that needs to change. We need to give our property owners the opportunity, not say you can't do it.
Yeah, and that's something that I run into too. People don't understand the whole, you know, lengthy
Right.
process, and they question, well, why is this able to be here and I can't do something here? You know, that's a big hurdle too, and to, you know, try to explain that is a difficult thing. Why is it okay for one entity and not a new entity? So, you know, I
Earlier
just
this
think
year,
we need to.
we went up to the courtroom, and we had a gazillion people up there, 50, 60 people.
Mhm.
There were two totally against, you know, doing anything. The majority of the people wanted us to review it.
Mhm.
If we don't do something for review, we're gonna get, as you mentioned the other day, you can see the windmill lights from Iowa County from your place.
Absolutely.
If we don't do something for rules and regulations, somebody's gonna push it through with a high-priced lawyer. No offense that you're not, Dave, but, you know.
Well, some people think I'm high-priced.
But, you know, they're gonna push it through, and we're gonna be on the dirty end of the stick.
Yeah.
We need to have rules and regulations. We need to have setbacks. We need to be looking at things with our eyes open, not closed minds. And so, you know, I feel like I'm preaching to the choir here. I do apologize, you know, but I need to preach over here, this side of the pulpit. But, yeah, it's gonna hit us broadside, some of this stuff. And by having it reviewed ahead of time, by looking at what other counties have done, I think we could mitigate a lot of
Well, and I believe that there were
issues.
2 things that were passed earlier this spring about if it hadn't been reviewed with ag land, and you and I kind of discussed that at one point.
Oh, yeah.
Those-
You know, I don't remember what happened
I-
yesterday.
Yeah, I know. So I think that we're setting ourselves up for failure by not reviewing it.
You know, and we know that solar energy is going to become more and more important. It's not just Highway 30, you know, we're not just looking at that, because you're gonna get revenue out of these solar fields. Got a field over in Urbana within the city limits. Got a field in Newhall within the city limits on county property. Small field, but you know, it's becoming more and more prevalent. You get farmers that have got solar panels up. I visited with a gentleman just last week on his home. He has solar energy. He said he went from $350 a month for his electric bill down to less than 50.
I've got solar panels, installed them 2 years ago, and I went from $220 down to $13 a month.
Amazing.
All I pay for is the meter.
Yeah, and so these are things we need to look at. I know the sheriff is looking at solar energy to put panels on the roof, because that $5,000-6,000 a month for electricity, he can offset that. That's money that could stay into the county budgets. Yes, it's a cost up front, you know, but, so, yeah, I think we need to be looking at a big picture.
I mean, COVID, though.
So, I do appreciate this information, I really do.
Well, we just wanted to make sure that you saw the results, and, you know, you know that we did it, and we wanted to show you what the results were. We wanted everybody to see what the facts were, and that's why we came back. And we continue to work as hard as I think Kate's worked harder now with the COVID thing because she's had to do a lot of different things. But anyway, continue to work on trying to bring business and industry and development to Benton County, and we'll continue that, but we think this makes it just a little bit more difficult. We'd like you to take a look at it.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you guys for your time.
Hey Wayne, we missed 10:15.
Too late, I gotta go.
How are you?
Hello, Myron. Fire away, sir.
All right, well, I hope you received my email about the ground penetrating radar. I sent all three of you. You got a chance to look at it. So they pretty much answered all the questions you had and that we had. And just want to make sure you got that. And the board voted unanimously that we'd like to see a cemetery there reestablished, whether it's right here or over here, because we're pretty sure there's burials there. So just kind of wanted to bring everything up and make sure everything's on board.
Is there cost estimates to reestablish that? Is there monies available through grants,
That I'm not sure.
you know, to do that?
I'm not
When
sure.
you say reestablish, maybe you could explain to them what you mean by that.
Well, it was accepted out of the deed. I went back as far as 1889, and there was an acre accepted out of the deed then, which included church and other buildings and such. That exception went all the way up until 1942, where it wasn't entered as an exception. There was still a building there, or buildings, because the 1950 aerial photo showed buildings and the cemetery there. So, as far as adverse possession goes, the rest of that acre is empty, there's nothing there, so adverse possession would pertain to that, but you can't.
No, it wouldn't.
It wouldn't?
No.
I thought you said it would.
No. You get no adverse possession in the state of Iowa against the cemetery.
The cemetery, right.
And so the cemetery has been established as 1 acre. But I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the cemetery commission has said that they believe, they don't know for a fact, they need to have the radar out there, but it looks like they might have about 22 grave sites from their estimation. And it looks like they're buried all close together, which means it's not gonna be a very big area. They are not, when they say reestablish, and correct me if I'm wrong, when they say reestablish the cemetery, what they wanna do, they're not gonna open it up for new business. They just wanna, whatever the size of it is, they would like to fence it off, record it, and they care not about the rest of the acre. This, farmer can have that. But there is no adverse possession against the cemetery. Cemeteries are for the public good and the public purpose, and you don't go ahead and just because someone hasn't done something for 20 years, say, now I own your cemetery and I can do whatever I want with it. It doesn't work that way.
Correct me if I'm wrong on this. As far as ownership of the cemetery, don't the families purchase lots to put their family in there? So actually, they're the ones, I would think, who own it, as opposed to the farmer around the area.
Well,
Or
No, it's not,
or not.
it's not gonna be an issue. The question, I didn't see the email, what's the cost of the radar?
OSA Office of the State Archaeologist said that they were charged $1,165 for about that same size of survey ones. That's all I have for that. So it's probably approximately that amount.
Is that for the whole acre or just for the concentrated area where you folks think graves are?
This, she said, the area was about 50 feet by 50 feet,
Okay.
which would be more than what the cemetery area we think includes.
Because my question, and I'm not trying to spend money, honestly, I'm not. My question is, if you don't let them kind of roam around a little bit, how do you know just how big the area is? I mean, but if it's, $1,200, $1,300, sometimes that's the cost of doing business on this stuff.
the last thing we want to see, this is down along the Blair's town,
Right.
blacktop there. Last thing we want to see is that the cemetery is in the right of way. That would not be good, So with the expansion of that road.
But it does look like, doesn't it come right up to the
It
roadway?
looks like it's pretty
right
much up to the fence.
It's up to the
Yeah,
fence.
up to the fence now, yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know how, Myron, you would know how much wider we're going down there.
17 feet would be my guesstimation of being the maximum.
So about 8.5 on each side of the
No,
road.
17 on, I mean, going from 33 to 50, so 17 feet, so 15 to 20 feet from the fence line. I mean, just from a description standpoint.
That would include most of the graves, I would think.
So
A
it
good
would
portion.
be that far away from the fence line, the road?
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
So I think one of the questions on the cemetery commission is, you know, this is, looks like what needs to be done. Would the county or would secondary roads pay for it? Because they're gonna have additional expense, whatever gets figured out for what the parameters of the cemetery is. They need to have a surveyor come in and survey that and record it, and then they need to hire a fence builder to come in and, you know, fence it off and things like that. And I think you guys have about 5,000 a year, so,
We just spent
We
2,500.
just spent 2,500.
so they're not
For
gonna
this year.
have, they're not, in the current budget year. So it looks to me like this is, could qualify as a secondary roads project. But I think they're looking for some assistance from the
Well, if
county.
they still have $2,500 left, and you're.
But
looking
the
about-
surveyor's gonna cost probably 12, 13, at
Correct.
least, maybe 1,500. And then the fence builder, and then all of a
Right.
sudden, it's not even halfway through the year and they're out of money.
Right, right. But that is for the remainder of this year, you got 2,500.
But
Well,
we
not-
have other expenses too.
We had other expenses besides that, you know, small expenses, but it adds up.
Yeah, of course it does. But, chances of doing all of that within this budget year are probably
We couldn't do that,
pretty slim, I would think.
probably not.
Probably gonna
No,
fall.
but they should get a surveyor and if they wanted to, I don't know what they have coming for the rest of the year, they could get a survey and they could maybe get a fence built. It's not gonna be a very big area.
Well,
Well, it wouldn't make sense to build a fence until.
you know where to put it.
Yeah.
Right, but what they were talking about doing was you'd have the radar people out there, you would try to time it, put up some stakes, this is the dimension, then have the surveyor there, you know, to survey it, because sometimes, you know, folks move stakes and things like that. And then once they get that established, then they would try to get a fence builder in, and I don't know how fast the radar people are showing up, or could show up, but, you know, you could, if you had it all organized, you know, we're talking a 50-foot by 20-foot area-ish.
Yeah.
That's not a lot of fencing for someone who knows what they're doing.
Sure. Well, I think we need to give the okay to proceed, obviously, but, you know, we don't want to just give a blank check either, you know, so, do we do some limits on that? How would we do that?
Well, like I said, we're gonna have time, we're gonna amend our budget regardless this year.
Okay.
So, I mean, it depends, are you gonna let Myron cover costs, or you want it all out of the historic preservation?
I mean, if the cemetery or burials would appear to be in the proposed area of additional right-of-way, based on some of the information you there, you know, let's look at the opposite end of the scenario. If nobody knew there was burials there and they were unearthed, the project would have to cease and they would have to be addressed. And you're probably talking some costs there that may far exceed what's being talked about here. I guess if there's a fair high level of confidence that the burials are in what the county's proposing to doing, then I think it could, the ground penetrating portion of that could be probably a secondary roads expense because of what we're intending to do. Now, the concern about the stakes getting moved, if, known surveyed GPS points, maybe my office staff could be called when they're doing that and mark, identify those points so that they don't get moved,
Not
that I
saying you
think
want
a
to move them, but you don't want to go to this work and then all of a sudden like, okay, now.
that a
what
surveyor
was
could
it?
then take that information and draw things up. I think the recording of the survey and the fence building would potentially be outside of the secondary roads project, I think.
Absolutely.
So basically, there should be sufficient, at this point in time, monies that you have available to take care of the fence building and the survey, but any the ground penetration, et cetera. What I'm trying to get at is between your committee and secondary roads, sounds like there's gonna be funding available. And if not, we're gonna amend the budgets anyway. If it's a few bucks, and we're not talking tens of thousands of dollars, so. I don't see a problem with it.
So let's say these grave sites are in the proposed right of way.
Mm-hmm.
That is a township correction line right there. There's township correction line. That's where it is.
Mm-hmm.
6 lines. The landowner owns the land on both sides of the road. Right there. Is there any possibility of, I don't know if you want to do that or not, but is there any possibility of moving the road over? In other words, where that cemetery's at is south of the intersection ways. You could, I don't know if it's possible or not, but you could run that road straight till you got past the cemetery and then curve it if you had the cooperation of all landowners, which there's only one or whatever, because the guy owns the northeast corner of the intersection, the southeast corner of the intersection, and the southwest corner of the intersection.
If the road's 15, 20 feet, the new road is 15, 20 feet away from the cemetery, would you have to do that? Isn't that enough? And it's still in the right of way, if it's, what's the right of way, 30?
Depending on what the ground penetrating radar would find, I think, take that into consideration. I mean, what was intended to be done with that project is utilize the road that's there now and build on it. Make it a little bit wider and make some surface improvements type of deal. Now, you run into rural houses at times that were built when the road was first established that are fairly close to the road. It doesn't, there isn't a benefit to the county to try to move that house for the most part in county projects. And so some adjustments are made for a short distance on a roadway. There might be some other adjustments that could be made if there's graves found, just adjacent to the existing right-of-way that would allow the county to expand the right-of-way with there.
What I was trying to get at is if the cemetery happens to be a few feet within the right of way, it's probably not gonna be a big deal, is it? I mean, the right of way is not 2 feet alongside the road. The right of way is, over there a ways, over where the fence is. So, if it just happens to be within a couple of feet, I don't see that is a big thing. You're gonna have to get the survey and find out.
Right.
Is really what it amounts to. Gonna find out exactly where it's at. Then you can do some adjustments if need be.
The radar deal is $2,500, right?
That was our survey cost on one other cemetery we had surveyed.
That was,
We already paid that.
we okayed it today, so that wasn't the radar?
No, that was just a regular survey.
Radar's gonna be $1,100 and some dollars.
The office of the state archaeologist was charged $1,165 by the anthropology department, University of Iowa, who has the radar equipment. And they charge them $1,165 for an area about 50 feet by 50 feet. So that's all I can go by.
So you don't have no price for the radar then?
Well, he's got an estimate of 1165.
Well, that's just a guess estimate.
They've already.
No, that was the price.
Yeah,
Oh,
they've
that was
already.
That was their price. They were built.
They've already estimated, that they think they have either 21 or 22 graves out there. And the diagram I saw for where they believe the graves are, it looks like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's 2 rows of graves. And I think one of the rows has 10 across and the next row has like 11 or 12. But it's not a real big area, so it's not 50 feet wide. You know, so I mean, if it's truly in the area that you think it's in, it's basically a rectangle like this, whatever room you need for 2 graves this way, for a total of 20 to 22 total in the rectangle. So 50 feet by 50 feet, I don't think you have a cemetery out there that's 2,500 square foot.
I don't think so.
Isn't that what 50 times 50 is?
It's kind of interesting that all
So
these.
hopefully it's gonna be a little bit less than that quote.
Well, there was a gap here and there, I think. But
Well, I don't understand, you know, like you go to a cemetery now, you purchase a lot, and your lot might be 15 graves away from the nearest person that's buried.
That's by today's standards.
Yeah. They actually think they'll find something with the radar?
well, they don't know. We
They
think
don't know.
we think they'll find something. Yes.
Okay.
No,
I
they
guess, worst case scenario, what happens, they don't find nothing?
You get a bill and, hey, you don't have a cemetery.
don't worry about it.
There's a cemetery
Really?
there.
I know.
Yeah, but if you go scraping along there and scrape up bones, then what?
We don't wanna do that.
No, gotcha.
There used to be markers there years ago, and they were loaded up and hauled off.
You've got the aerial photos, I can't remember what the last year of it is.
1950, it was still
You
there.
can still see a cemetery from above there, and at some point, the markers disappeared.
I think they could be, well,
It'd be nice if they could be found, because then they could be put back out there, but
Hired hand told, I think Steve Meyer, he helped move the stones. He remembers doing that, but he didn't remember where they took him to. And he's gone now, he passed away.
I know where they're at.
Oh,
well, Gary, you know, you
Yes.
should, after the meeting, you should let us know, so.
we can get names.
Because that would go a long way towards an actual restoration of the cemetery.
Yes.
Put the markers back out there.
We're trying to chase down the committee authorities from the church to find their church records to get names. And we're trying to chase that down now. We have no names yet.
If there's actual tombstones, you'd have names.
We'd have names, yeah.
Mhm.
Well, some of the people that are related to the people that were buried there are out of state now. They've been back.
I guess somebody came back and was irate that they couldn't find the cemetery where their family was.
Well, there's living descendants or relatives, so, you know, they'd be able to help give names as well then, so, okay. Well, I'd say go forth, get it done. You know, you gotta get it, I'd rather do it this way than get scrapers out there and say, oops.
Yeah.
My question is, have you talked to the farmer? How's he feel about this?
It's not good.
He's reluctant. He took down the sign that was out in county right away. He said, it's not going back up. You put it back up, I'm taking it back down.
Well, folks
Yeah.
have an answer, and then sometimes the answer gets amended later.
Right.
We'll see.
But as far as the radar, a month ago, they said they would be able to do it this fall, but that was a month ago. So I don't know if they'll be available yet before it gets too cold and such, so, for this fall.
This 2,500 that you already spent was on a different
Different
location,
cemetery, yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
just so everybody understands that.
Yep.
Legal aspect now, to cover them guys, they can't be charged for trespassing?
No, trespassing is the unlawful entry with a bad intent on someone else's land. So let's say you and I have a fence line,
You don't like me very much. What's wrong with you anyways? But to maintain the fence line, sometimes I gotta stand on your side of it, of the boundary, to work on the fence.
Okay.
That's not trespass on your land. I don't wanna be on your land, Tracy Seaman, any more than you want to there, but I gotta, so no, it's not trespass. And trespass is a state of Iowa charge. As long as they're out there just in the quick vicinity of where this is at, they're not up at the farmhouse or whatever, why would we charge that? I don't feel inclined to charge something like that.
What you were saying, that it's been on an abstract, I don't know whose abstract, it was on the abstract up till about 1940, somewhere
And
there.
the aerial photos from the 50s show it's still there.
Right, even though it's not showing on an individual's abstract.
Beer Shank knows where they're stashed. That's stuff, right, Gary?
Possibly.
We'd like to talk outside this meeting.
And one of the exceptions, or two of them, actually point out graves, to maintain the graves in that corner. So,
Yeah. So,
It stopped getting continued on in the deeds that were getting recorded.
exactly, it was left
Someone
off.
took it off, and that, unfortunately, sometimes that happens for whatever reason, sometimes out of sight, out of mind.
Right.
It could have just been somebody left it out of the one deed, and that mistake got repeated in the next transfer. Who knows?
And whoever's farming it,
Someone takes the stones away,
so, yeah.
easy
So there
to
was
forget
no
about.
records of the bodies, no nothing.
we have records about 3 being moved down to Blairstown, but that's it. We can't find any more at all.
But if they were able to, and they're still working on this, if they were able to ever find some church records, then you could figure out who else is buried there. And a lot of times in the county newspapers back in that time period, an obituary will say where the burial is at. But it's kind of like a needle in a haystack. They don't, unless they were to just sit down and go through 15 years of county newspaper record and search every obituary, it's kind of time consuming.
What kind of denomination of church was there?
Evangelical? Evangelical?
Okay, Lutheran then?
It was just something evangelical church.
Yeah,
wasn't
just
it?
Evangelical Church is all it was called.
The other thing that you gotta consider is, there was a lot of, I don't know how far back this cemetery goes, but there were a lot of people along Highway 30 that were traveling to the west coast. And people would get sick in the morning, they'd be dead in the afternoon. They'd have to bury them. And you can follow, you go west of there, when you go across Prairie Creek, if you look at the ground at the right time, in other words, it's gotta be in the daytime, you can see where the track was, and it goes right up to that cemetery that's out in the middle of the field. And then they went down to, once they got across Prairie Creek, they went to Belle Plaine, and then they followed along the Belle Plaine Highway 30 route up back to Highway 30 where it got flat again, and then they went straight west.
So that's Van Meter Cemetery?
What's that?
Van Meter Cemetery, the one you're referring to, or?
I don't know what it's called. I have no idea. It's out in the middle of the field right west of Prairie
If
Creek.
you go across,
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
right here, Van Meter, yeah, you go across that bridge and it's back up the hill.
Yeah, yeah. And you can see the tracks. You can actually see the tracks. If you look at on the right day with the right moisture, you can see where they went up the hill with the wagon train.
So having somebody's name in that case, we probably wouldn't be able to find it.
Probably not.
Yeah, it's just somebody passing through, but.
Well, neither here nor there, we need to find this stuff with a ground penetrating equipment rather than a scraper or a bulldozer. So I think it needs to be done. So you're looking for formal action, what are you looking for?
I think if the county engineer says that he thinks that the actual cost for this part of the project,
Right.
that they can do it, I don't think you have to prove anything.
Okay. Get
Unless
her
you want to,
done.
you can
No,
say you
no,
support it,
no.
you know.
Get her done.
Okay, so we're paying for the radar or you're paying for the radar?
Secondary road.
Okay, so then all I can do is just find out from them when they can come, and then you decide, when to go with it, right?
Well, you're gonna want, because he said that he's got some GPS, some way of putting GPS locators at the boundary.
Right.
You're gonna wanna coordinate this with Myron, so Myron can have someone out there that can assist, but why don't you call and see if you can get something set up?
I'll find out when they can come, and we'll set up a window there and work it
And
out.
also get his phone number and call him, because if you could actually recover some stones, that would be a
Yes, that would be
tremendous
huge.
development.
That would be huge.
That would be a.
But then that might
That's pretty hard
include,
to come back from the stones being gone.
will that include the sheriff's department to do that? If it's out in somebody's backyard or along the creek?
Well, I think what you do is you talk to him first, and he's got all kinds of contacts in that part of the county in particular anyways, and I can't imagine anybody that if they had a bunch of, most people didn't dig out a pit and put stones, 10 foot down. They're usually just someplace fairly shallow. But talk to Gary outside the meeting, see if there's a possibility. I think most people, if they found out, geez, I've got, 10 to 15 stones or whatever, and they got tossed back on this part of, this corner of my property or whatever, I think most people would be like, well, that doesn't sound right, let's rectify it.
And if
I'd
they're-
like to think they'd act like
And if they're concerned about it, it's not illegal to have a stone in your yard. It's illegal to take it from the cemetery.
We're not interested at this point,
Right.
50 years after the fact, or whenever it happened, no one's gonna get prosecuted, but if we could get them returned, that'd be great. That'd be a real positive development for that cemetery.
Gary's phone number's on the website.
Cool.
Yeah, we're not looking to blame, I don't think anyone's looking to blame anyone, it's
Oh.
just,
Yeah, we've had somebody get real nervous about it and say, no, it's not illegal to have
we're
one
not
out your
doing press
backyard.
releases trying to.
And sometimes they replace
Embarrass anyone.
old stones with new stones and take the old stone, so it's not illegal to have a stone in your yard. It's just taken
Stuff
away.
happens, and it's 30 years ago or longer, no one's interested in trying to embarrass anybody, it's just trying to, let's get this very small cemetery cleaned up and preserved, so we don't have to worry about it anymore.
Right.
It'll be a very positive thing for everyone involved.
And you don't get in trouble scraping up any bones.
That we don't want.
No,
We don't want
not
that.
at all. Okay, very good, Wayne,
All
thank
right,
you.
You bet.
Give me a holler whenever.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Myron?
I just noticed that. What did we say it was? Yeah, so that might be the worst we have to do.
Okay. Says 8:00.
Yeah,
And that's only if they've ordered it. Yeah.
I know we had a few parts, but yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Last Tuesday was the DOT's monthly construction letting. Benton County had a project in there. Wolf Creek Bridge on the Benton line. As you see in front of you, there were 4 submitted bids for that project. Incidentally, the engineer's estimate, based on looking at past prices, thought that it was gonna be closer to $2.37 million. So you can see all 4 of them were under the estimate. Taylor Construction Incorporated out of New Vienna, Iowa, came in as the low bidder. Done a lot of work in the county over the last 25, 30 years. Done a lot of work in the state of Iowa, as well as the other 3. I, as well as the DOT, were recommending Taylor Construction for this project. So I guess first, just as an action item, to accept these 4 bids for that bridge project.
So moved. Second.
Tracy made the motion to accept the bids. Gary seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 And just reiterating what I just said, I'd recommend that Taylor Construction Incorporated, New Vienna, be the awarded contractor for that project.
So moved.
Good.
Okay. And Gary, made the motion to accept the low bid from Taylor Construction, Inc. And Tracy seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. And the third thing, if you're in agreement, the last couple projects that we have done with DOT, since things are getting automated, and the signing of the contract is being done digitally, is a resolution that is designating I, the county engineer, to sign the contract on behalf of Benton County and the Dock Express software.
Second.
Okay, and Tracy made the motion to designate county attorney as county engineer, sorry. I've done that before. To execute the contract digitally. And Gary seconded, but it's a resolution.
Seaman, aye.
And Primer, aye.
I got a tweet too.
I just changed the font, same thing.
Well, I do that, otherwise the newspaper charges me more to get it bigger.
Unless your signature's like Gators is that type set,
I
doesn't
can
lean
adjust
much.
it, but no.
Bless you.
Can we,
Want that back?
Sure.
COVID thing is going nuts.
One of us mention it and I have to sneeze. I'm safe.
Anyway, is there a reason for that COVID thing to go up? And if so, do we need to talk to the hospital about
They're
it?
coming back in 2 weeks regardless.
Yeah, they're coming back in.
I can't do anything about the voters coming in right now,
Isn't it
so.
on the 17th?
Justin come in, because we had 100 people in person yesterday, so
Yeah.
he's coming in every day. Yeah, yesterday we were slammed.
I was
So
busy, I heard.
he come in and did the spraying after we left, and so I told him either in the morning, and if he can't do it at night, I could stay, and I'm the last one to leave and do it. But I just feel I'm trying to protect my staff too, because we can't afford to be sick
Right.
next week. And we wouldn't have got through without Alicia's help too, this week. She come in and did all the extra claims for us and ran them, printed checks today. So we're appreciative, Myron's letting her help us out.
Thank you for doing that, allowing that. So,
I mean, it's hard when you gotta stop and teach somebody.
Sure.
So she kind of jumped right in and did an excellent job, so.
Good, very good. Anything else, sir?
That's all I have.
Okay. Gentlemen, anything from Marty?
No.
Yeah.
How's your
Hope you're waiting for that.
workforce for the winter? Got enough road graders and
Got plenty of equipment, short operators, that's why I was advertising, and I will be interviewing, and may need to find selling equipment. Multiple people, depending on how things all pan out, I guess. Say pan out, there's a few other things developing right now that aren't concrete and stone yet, but may have personnel that I need to replace for other reasons.
Continual battle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I can see that is a continual battle for you. Number of employees that you have to keep that
Mm-hmm.
fully staffed is gotta be just.
I don't remember what the numbers were. I think there's over a dozen applications that came in here with the equipment operator posting that was recently closed, so.
That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I had sent around the stuff from Heartland.
Over here.
Okay, very good.
All right, that's all I had.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Myron.
Uh-huh.
Thank you, Myron. And here's that audit, and then here's the insurance values.
That helps me decide on the budget.
That's on it, so here you go. All right. Is there anything else, gentlemen? Second. All right. Gary, followed by Tracy. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye.